For this afternoon and tonight, a significant winter storm, including heavy snow with blowing and freezing snow.
Hello and welcome to the SnowBrains podcast, where it's my job to interview the most interesting people in the snow sports industry and pass their fascinating knowledge on to you, our listeners. I'm your host, Miles Clark. I'm a professional free skier, a mountain guide, an Alaska heli ski guide, a UC Berkeley molecular cell biology graduate, the founder and CEO of SnowBrains, and somehow this is already our 100th episode. I started this podcast during the COVID pandemic in 2020 while hiding out in Santa Cruz, California for the summer. I wanted to come away with something positive despite this massive unknown that the pandemic had imprinted on us all. I want to say thank you to all of you for listening along and humoring me as I continue to completely make this shit up as I go. Thank you. My guest today is Will Sladek, the general manager of onX Backcountry. Will helps lead one of the most influential tools in modern backcountry travel. onX Backcountry has changed how skiers and snowboarders and mountain travelers plan routes, manage risk, and understand terrain. From mapping and land ownership to avalanche forecasting, weather, and now high-resolution satellite imagery, that's pretty recent, onX has become a go-to platform for people who spend real time in the mountains. Today, we're going to get into the nuts and bolts. How onX Backcountry actually works, how big their team is, how many people are using it, what problems they're trying to solve, and why their user experience stands out in an increasingly crowded space. We'll also talk about decision-making in the backcountry, spring ski mountaineering, satellite imagery, and how technology is shaping the way we move through wild places. Hello, Will. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for being here. How are you today, man?
I'm doing great.
Nice, man. And so when did you ski last? It's very important.
Yesterday morning.
Excellent.
I got out with, some Masters Skimo at Park City Mountain.
Doing the before they open thing.
Before they open things.
I have to do that next week. It sounds so hard. You have moving by 7 or something like that, right?
You need to be out of there by 8:15. I got a ticket last week because I was there at 8:21.
Wait, tell me about this ticket. I love it.
Got back to my car at probably at 8:24, and I was excited, and then noticed I was driving out a little yellow envelope on the windshield. I was like, wait a second, what is that? And I looked, and apparently I had stayed in the parking lot too long without a reservation.
That's hilarious.
So they were on it, and watch out for that. But it's really cool. And the route they have there at Park City, the snow right now, surprisingly, is actually in really good shape.
Oh, okay. Well, because I'm doing that next week, I think on Thursday with my wife and her team. So that'll be fun to do. And how many days do you think you've skied this winter so far?
Okay, well, this winter so far, important to note, since having a kid, I redefined a ski day.
Ooh, how old's your kid?
He's 6.
Okay, yeah. So you're in the thick of it.
We're in the thick of it. A ski day is any day where I slide on snow.
Yes, I agree.
And I think I'm probably at like 30 or 30 plus for this season. And
wow, that's really good.
Keep it rolling. Try to get out and slide in the snow as much as I possibly can.
How many did you get last year?
I didn't count, but probably over 100.
Damn, dude, that's impressive. Okay, I love that, especially when you're running an important company like this. Well, Will, today I'm super excited to dig into onX Backcountry and where it's headed and what it is and where it came from. But first, I really love hearing people's life story. Tell us your quick and dirty life story.
Absolutely. So I grew up in Central Texas. Was super into math and endurance sports. Is probably like the overarching.
That's so nerdy, both of them. I love it.
And at the time, I didn't realize it, but Texas is the state that has the least public land per acre of anywhere in the country. And I actually really felt that oppressively. And that I was always trying to go trail running. And it's just like, there's nowhere to go trail running. There are these little state parks that are okay, but not that great, or at least back then. Now there's some really cool stuff. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I went to college in LA, and that opened my eyes to public land. It also was springboard to get into business. And so after college, I went into management consulting. I had a brief stint trying to be a road bike racer.
Whoa.
Fortunately, I failed very quickly at that.
That's really cool.
And so kind of came back to business life pretty fast. And then after a few years in LA doing management consulting, I got a call from a former colleague who had moved to backcountry.com in Park City. And for me, the value proposition was I can have a real job, live in a mountain town. I thought I was gonna have to retire to do that. And so we moved out here back in 2012 and then had a great time working at backcountry.com, had a great time living in Park City. It's so stereotypical. I feel I'm almost bad about it. We came for the winter and stayed for the summer.
That's what everybody says in mountain towns.
It's what everyone says, and it's so true. Mountain biking is probably my favorite thing year round. And one of the kind of through lines for me is got very deep passion for endurance sports, outdoor adventure. I think the adventure is vital to our well-being. And so then I found onX. I'd been an onX user starting in 2017 when I tried to get into elk hunting. Not super successful at that, but it opened my eyes to the onX app and became a little bit addicted to adding in private property information and who owns what land as part of my adventuring. Go to all sorts of cool places in Utah and then see that like, oh, there's like a mining company that owns that little spot. That's interesting. And it's just a really cool context to layer in. And so I started using it for all sorts of non-hunting adventures with the onX Hunt app, which is where our company started. And then in 2021, onX launched the onX Backcountry app. And I jumped in to lead those efforts. I'm just really excited to bring the power and context of a tool like onX and a platform like onX to human-powered adventure. And then the other part of my life story is that we now have a 6-year-old running around, and that's been a even cooler way of awakening the adventurer inside of someone.
Well, do me a favor and tackle that rascal tonight. I was just reading how good it is for kids to wrestle with their dad. So I'm sure that you do that a lot. So keep it up because it's supposed to be really great for kids, for mental, physical, everything. So tackle that little punk.
Yeah, you say that showed up in a wolf book that we were just reading. It said roughhouse play is one of the ways that wolves and other mammals bond. So we're trying to embrace that.
It's so true, and it's so clearly a primate thing to do. So get out there and make sure that's part of it. You mentioned the private land thing, and I talked to Kelly at your team about this once upon a time, and she told me a little bit about it, but I'm curious your thoughts. So just coming from a totally open-ended perspective, why did onX in their Hunt app have private land labeled on there?
Yeah, it really started with our founder, Eric Siegfried, back in I think 2008 or 2009 when he was out elk hunting in Montana and was trying to figure out how do I get back home legally without crossing other people's property. And public land in the West is such an integral part of life and the landscape that this intersection, especially in a high stakes activity like hunting, where you're legal to hunt in this spot, but not in that spot. And there may not be a fence or there may not be a sign. So he then had the spark of how cool would it be if I could see where I'm standing and who owns the land I'm standing on my GPS device. And so he went and originally, this is before iPhones and iPhone apps, made a chip that you could plug into your GPS device that would layer in private property information on whatever you were looking at. And that kind of grew from there.
That's really cool. Yeah, I was actually just looking at that on onX, and I think it has some value in backcountry and ski mountaineering as well. Just trying to stay where you're supposed to be and not get in trouble.
Yeah, definitely. And in some places, I mean, we're both in the Park City area. If you go over to Cardiff, Canyon in the Cottonwoods, there's some really big private land, public land disputes and access issues. And so when you look at that, you can actually navigate around it and stay legal and avoid conflict. So yeah, it comes up a lot. We also, I'll plug quickly, we released a film about inaccessible land.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more.
Yeah, Griffin Post went to the Crazy Mountains with a team of folks and went and skied some areas that are really hard to get to. So check out Inaccessible.
And just so folks know, I know a very small amount about this, but Griffin Post is just a total badass backcountry skier, ski mountaineer. back when I was a kid, he was a really great competitor. I had to compete against him a couple times and never beat him. And he also is a really great storyteller and he even has a solar company now, I believe. But anyway, a very experienced mountain person. And my understanding is that very, very wealthy people, maybe even billionaires with a B, have bought up a lot of the land around the Crazy Mountains, which is in, I believe, southwest Montana near Bozeman, and made it really difficult to access those mountains, sort of de facto making it their own mountain range. And I don't know if they're heli skiing or cat skiing or backcountry skiing there or what, but they've, sounds like, intentionally tried to limit the accessibility. And so it sounds like Griffin goes out there and tries to show people what's going on and explain how important it is to have access to places like the Crazy Mountains.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the other thing I would just plug on Griffin is he's also quite a hunter.
No way, I didn't know that. Yeah, he has a what do you call it, MBA and marketing, and yeah, he's annoyingly multi-talented. Pisses me off. So Griffin Post, look him up. Also, he's an amazing person, and he works with onX doing a bunch of their stuff, and I'm sure he helps you guys with development. So for someone who's never used it or isn't familiar, let's start from the very beginning. What is onX Backcountry?
Yeah, onX Backcountry, it's really a digital companion for human-powered adventure. And so you can think of us as a map app that's purpose-built and trustworthy, but really we try to go further than that and really be your decision-making tool. We want to help you make great calls and make the right call when you're hiking, skiing, mountain biking. And so we'll give you the data and the tools that you need to do that, whatever those may be. And we try to put those right in front of you in an app that makes it easy to access without getting kind of too bogged down into the tool itself.
I like that. And what's your role at onX, and what's your day-to-day like?
Yeah, so I'm the general manager of onX Backcountry. So I get to work with great engineers and marketers and GIS and content acquisition folks and guidebook authors and all sorts of people who are really, really passionate about the outdoors and outdoor adventure, and pull them together to make a great product and hopefully introduce it to people, to adventurers that can use it.
Great. And who is that adventurer? Who is the core user you're building this for? What's your typical user? I forget what the right way to say that is.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting when we ask our users to describe themselves or describe other people using that they think onX Backcountry would be good for. The most common answer is some form of, it's great for adventurers and explorers. It's great for people exploring the backcountry. And I think the interesting thing is what they don't say. They don't say it's great for people hiking. They don't say it's great for this particular thing. They say it's an adventure tool. And I think the adventure is an important word there. At onX, our mission is to awaken the adventure inside everyone. And adventure comes in lots of different forms for lots of different people, but really anyone who's interested in going on an adventure, we're for them.
And so you guys have, if I understand correctly, 3 prongs, essentially. You have the trident of backcountry, off-road, and hunt. And there might be more that I'm not familiar with. So how does onX Backcountry differ from the hunting and off-road products?
Yeah, really across all of our products, one of our core tenets is being purpose-built for our customers. And so when we think of, if we look across all those activities, there is a lot of shared problem and shared tool needs. Like everything we do has a high need for planning and navigation, and that's common across really any outdoor activity, especially hunting, off-roading, any sort of human-powered adventure, backcountry skiing, hiking. I will note we now have a fishing app.
Oh, wow, that's super cool.
Fish, so check that out. But with our purpose-built principle, we really want to tailor the experience to your pursuit so that it fits like a glove for you. And a quick example of that, slope angle is obviously something that backcountry skiers really care about because it informs both where you can ski, where is it steep enough to ski, and also where is it steep enough to produce an avalanche. So we care a lot about slope angle. In hunting, you actually care about slope angle too. And even hunting in the Midwest, you care about slope angle because you want to see like, where is there a little like ditch or drainage that game might be moving across? But we care about it in really different ways. So in the Hunt app, we'll show slope angle starting at 0 degrees slope with 5-degree increments. So you can see a lot of resolution around 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 15 degrees. In the backcountry app, we don't show you anything until you get to 15 degrees.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't care about that part of the spectrum. And so that just gets at one example of how we tailor the same underlying data for a particular activity. And really that purpose-built tenet is very, very central to who we are.
A lot of my friends really like. I don't usually like it because it's just, I feel like it can create a map that's a little bit feels chaotic to me. So I usually go with more the satellite topo map is what I really like. But a lot of my friends love that, and I get why people do, because if you have that slope angle, especially if the avalanche danger is considerable or if you have any sort of concerns around it that day, this really does show you, hey, this is 30-degree and above terrain. It's very clearly marked and makes it really nice because you know, hey, this once we enter these colors, we got to really be on our P's and Q's here or be on top of everything and make sure that we are making good decisions once we enter these colors. And I think there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah, well, and I think I love that you brought up trying to keep your map clean and keep it not get overwhelmed by the information. And when we talk about, like, we really want to be a decision-making tool at the end of the day. We're here to help you make better calls. And having too much information can be just as bad as not having enough.
I agree.
And so one of the things that we've done for skiing in the US, we're really inspired by some work in Canada, is bring the avalanche terrain exposure scale to backcountry ski terrain in the US. And what it shows you is it maps the ability of terrain to produce an avalanche based on its slope angle and then the other factors like kind of tree coverage and things around it. And then not just where would those avalanches start, but then where would they run to? And so then we do an even simpler version that you should check out of color the map with green, blue, black, red. Where green is what we call simple terrain. And when someone says, stay off of and out from under slopes steeper than 30 degrees, that's green terrain.
Interesting. But tell me again, so what is that layer that you can use that helps with the avalanche?
It's the avalanche terrain exposure scale. It's called ATES, ATES.
And it's one of the layers that you can get on
One
right
of the layers
now.
in Snow
Really?
now. Yeah.
Wow, I'm just looking at my app right now, sorry. Well, that's fantastic, and I'm going to look more into that because that sounds like a tool that if it could show you where things could start and how far they could run, that sounds incredibly valuable because the way I've used the slope angle so far is I'll toggle it. So basically when I get into terrain and I'm concerned about avalanche, then I'll turn that on and look at the slope angle and think, oh man, yeah, this is purple. This is not a good plan for us. Especially, in the Western US, it seems to be a common combination of when things are steep, when you're near the summit, snowpack gets a little bit thinner sometimes up there and it's more rocky. And so whenever I start to enter terrain that looks like that, that's when I'll toggle in and look and see that. I'll now toggle in and see other information because that'd be amazing to know start zones and how far things could run and where they would run to. What do you think Cody Townsend, for example, because I know he's one of your ambassadors, what does Cody Townsend use onX, especially as he does all these amazing projects like the 50 and the 50 plus?
Yeah, I think Cody does such cool projects that it really puts our product to the test in exciting ways. And he is really interacting with the terrain in unique and extreme circumstances. And I think that's actually where we excel. And so if you look at what he's doing, he is analyzing really big, steep mountains. We give you great ways of visualizing that with our 3D maps that then go offline with you. So 3D offline is a feature from the last couple of years that we've been able to get into your phone that used to be too powerful or used to require too much data to get onto your phone. Now we can get it there, which is exciting. He combines that with being able to build his own map and organize his information for an adventure. So he can build a really detailed plan and keep track of that and keep it organized in his folders and then share it really easily with his partners. And so for someone like Cody or an expert, we see them getting very into the details of building their own plan and evaluating that plan beforehand and then taking it with them in the field. When we see a lot of other folks who are maybe a little bit newer, not doing objectives that are quite so extreme as what Cody's doing, we see a lot more of check where I am right now and where I might want to go from here. And so it's a little bit of a different dynamic, but Cody really puts terrain evaluation to the nth degree, and that's kind of where our app shines.
I've used it for planning a little bit too, and especially when I was in places like Patagonia where there aren't any trails. It's like, all right, well, what makes sense? And it worked. And what I like too is I can check when I'm off trail, hey, am I approximately on the right route? And I really like that because I remember when I first started mountain guiding, everybody was really talking about it and we were training on how to use some of these digital features to help us. And I remember I was so intimidated. I was like, God, just give me a compass and a map. It's so much simpler. But now it's obviously the opposite. The compass and the map is definitely my secondary tool that I would use if my phone broke or I dropped it in a lake or something like that. Because now, man, especially the other day, I was way out in the mountains. We actually had to find a drone in the middle of nowhere, Patagonia. And then I obviously was like not paying attention to where I was going. And it was really nice because I dropped my pack somewhere by the trail. And it's like, all right, let's use this line to get back to my pack. And it's so accurate. It's so fun. It makes it so easy. But one thing I really wanted to talk to you about, a friend named Garrett, who's a big, massive Eastern Sierra guy, and he loves the satellite imagery, and he loves the recent satellite imagery, and that's why he has onX, because he can look in the springtime in the Eastern Sierra, for example, and see where the snow is and where the snow is not. And that helps him decide where he's going to go, what he's going to do, and how much fun he's going to have, how much suffering there will be, because the east side is just mostly suffering. So onX rolled out satellite imagery. I'm curious how recent that was and what your guys' motivation was behind it. And I guess what problem are you guys trying to solve for backcountry users with that feature?
Yeah. So we've had recent satellite imagery for a while now, but we made a really big upgrade. I think last year, maybe it was 2 years ago.
Ooh, say more.
We worked with a company called Planet to source imagery that's not more than 2 weeks old. So we had 2-week windows. And then we'll show you for the last more than a year, you can rewind in time and see any 2-week window what the satellite imagery looked like at that moment in time. And so if you're somewhere, especially spring skiing or early season backpacking in the spring is another really big use case for satellite imagery, you can figure out whether there's snow or not snow. And so you can look and see, is this area filled in or not filled in? And especially as you start to go into the Eastern Sierra to some like bigger objectives, that becomes very, very important. It also can be a more of kind of a party trick tool, or for me, as I'm feeling depressed right now in Park City without much snow, I can rewind to last year this time of year and say like, oh yeah, we did actually get snow once upon a time.
I'm not crazy. It was good last year.
I'm not crazy. Yeah. It was good last year, and flip between those. But more broadly, you can even look at trends and start to say, I'm planning a trip in March or April or May. What is usual? Last year, was this filled in at this time or not? And get a sense of, am I crazy for planning this backpacking trip at the end of May? Is it going to be under 8 feet of snow, or vice versa? Is May too late?
I love that. And something that that's the knowledge that we all like to have. And just arguments with your friends, like, no, last year this was filled in, and like you could go back and look. So I actually haven't played with that yet. So I'm really excited to go back and look at a bunch of things, because especially, 2023, when we all had a ton of snow, it'd be cool to see how things look and then compare that to this year or last year or other recent years. And where does it go from here? So it's incredible that I can have a satellite image that's within 2 weeks old or 2 weeks old or less, and I can have that become a 3D image and then plan a route and track my route. It's kind of ridiculous. Hard to understand where it would go, but if anybody would know, it's you. So where do you think satellite image is going to go next with onX Backcountry to make it even more useful for backcountry users?
Yeah, well, I love that you brought up the 3D imagery in the light of
it's insane,
imagery.
dude. I love looking at that.
Yeah.
I love, because I'll find a route I like or a shoot, sorry to interrupt, and I'll spin it around over and over. And I don't know why. My brain just like, I'm just absorbing and absorbing and absorbing. If after like 20 spins, I'm like, I got it. But anyway.
Well, it's a great example of two things. The first is being able to visualize data in a way that makes it more useful for decision making. And you talked about kind of in the quote unquote old days, we all learned how to read topo maps, and and with time, our brains become used to translating a topo map into what we expect to see in the field. But now with 3D imagery, you pop it into 3D mode, and it's the same data that powers both the topo map and the 3D imagery. But the 3D version answers more questions so much faster. Like,
Yes.
Is this bench big enough? How big is this bench that I'm looking at? Like, you can just see that intuitively in 3D. And the other thing that this brings up that I think is really important is the satellite imagery, recent imagery, automatically flows into that 3D view. And so it's an integration of two different data sets that makes the outcomes so much more powerful, because now you can see, you're not trying to estimate, where am I on this line and is there snow there? You look at it in 3D and you can just see, like, is there snow there? And so I think as we go forward, the integration of more data sets in intuitive ways is a really big thread that we're hoping to pull on.
And we have to talk about fat maps. This just popped into my head while we were talking about the recent imagery, because that's what I think everybody loved about fat maps. Fat maps was a similar software, but it would make these 3D maps with I don't know if it was recent. I actually don't think it was recent images, but it was snow, winter images. And that seems to be hard to find. I think people loved it because of that, what I'm talking about. I don't know if it was recent, but the satellite imagery that was in winter, where people like to go. What is onX doing to compare to that fat map, I guess, feature that people love so much?
Yeah, I think the thing that was really cool about FatMap was actually the algorithms they used to convert the terrain data into a really smooth 3D experience. They were the first of the outdoor apps to do that in a compelling way. And for a long time, that was just, again, only available online. But if you went to your computer and did it, it's really, really, really cool. The places that we're extending that is, number one, bringing it offline with you on your phone.
That's awesome.
So that part of the experience is really, really good. And the digital elevation models, to get nerdy for a second, the DEMs, we're now using 1 meter DEMs to power almost all of our 3D models, which gives us a much, much better, more vivid resolution for what the terrain looks like. And so I think FatMap was the first to get there, and now we've caught up and are going past it in some ways.
So for people that love Fat Maps, and Fat Maps was bought by Strava and killed, I believe. So these Fat Maps lovers who are out there, they can come to onX and they are going to get a similar experience.
Exactly. Yeah, that works off. It goes with them offline.
I love that. Okay, so weather forecasting, and this is another feature I haven't played with enough, but onX Backcountry has integrated weather forecasting. How does that work? Where are the forecasts pulled from?
Yeah, so we work with some partners that give us a weather forecast for every point in the country. And so if you tap on the map, you can get a 14-day hourly forecast for that place.
And that'll just kind of pop, like you just basically hit weather, click on a point, and it'll pop up.
Yeah, you tap on the map, there's a card that pops up, tells you a bunch of stuff about what's here. One of those things is weather. So then tap weather, and you can go look at it in a lot of different ways. The hourly version goes out 2 weeks. Right now, it's kind of depressing because there's
it's just sun. Don't look right now.
Don't look right now. You live in the Mountain West. But when there is something interesting to look at, go there. We also show you yesterday's weather, which is really important for backcountry skiing because you can go see the wind by hour for place. So that's one big component of weather. Another big, when we think about backcountry ski touring, and especially another big element is snowpack. And so we pull in all the SnowTel data from SnowTel stations to give you the latest measurements about where we can confirm there's snow and how much there is and what the recent history of that snow has been.
Okay, and then how do we find that SnowTel data? It's just when I click weather, there's an option in there?
There's two ways to find it. One is if you're looking at a snow route, we'll show you here are the nearby SnowTel stations.
Wow.
So that's kind of tied right in. And the other is you'll see a little snowflake on the map and you tap that snowflake.
Wow. This is high level. We're not even done painting this picture yet, but the picture that's being painted for me by you is if you're serious about being out there, especially if you're any kind of a professional in the mountains, if you want the most accurate information on all of these different spectra, really, this is the app. I don't think anybody else is putting all these things together. This is insane. So you said it goes out 14 days. So that answers my next question that I have here. And you do show winds from yesterday. And I just wanted to highlight for our users, that's huge for avalanches, right? So wind transport is one of the biggest problems in avalanche terrain. So if you can see what the weather was yesterday, if it was just windy, that's enough. If it was windy and snowing, that's a lot. I think, especially for us in the springtime, if there's some kind of huge temperature gradients that happened yesterday, that's good to know. From all this information, you're getting just a plethora of data, including changing snow levels, solar exposure, all this kind of stuff. Actually, I did see there's a thing called Shade Map app. Is that something that you guys would ever integrate? Because that is also super interesting for me and useful when I'm on the Eastern Sierra, because you might be looking at a shoot that you want to ski and you want to ski it in the sun because that's when the corn is going to happen. And this map, it's not 100% accurate, but it seemed to be pretty good so far. Is that something you folks are looking into?
So, man, you're getting into some fun stuff.
I'm just thinking, especially once you have that, I can't even think of anything else. It's insane how many features you guys have. I love this.
Yeah. So hotly debated questions is how much data to pack in and where.
Yes. Yeah.
So we hear that feedback and we love it.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, cool. Something else to talk about and think about. And so we talked about the avalanche forecasting. So what was the name of the layer again? You said it was like ATS?
ATES,
ATES.
or the Avalanche Terrain Exposure Scale.
Okay, that's
And
fantastic.
it was a whole podcast to go into the
Yes.
depths of eights and how it got produced. But I mean, it really started for us with the observation that exactly what you said earlier, out in the West, we get these persistent weak layers where the only answer to be confident that you're staying safe is actually to stay off of slopes that can produce avalanches or that can produce big avalanches.
Right, which is above
And
30
so-
degrees.
Exactly.
Generally.
And so this was a framework that was developed in Canada to solve the same problem. And in Canada, it was originally mapped kind of individually by hand according to a bunch of criteria. We worked with a PhD student whose thesis was all about developing algorithms that apply those same factors algorithmically across much broader swaths of mountains. And so we've implemented it in a lot of sections of the Western US, all the places that you're probably backcountry skiing, we probably now have it. And then we've worked with the local avalanche professionals to validate that it's right. So that's kind of an important step in producing this data. There's a whole lot of very technical and very dorky, exciting background to it. But then the end result is we can show you the areas that you should be skiing when the danger is starting to get high.
And if I'm not mistaken, you can also find that information in there as well. Could I find the regional forecast center's forecast for that day?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so when we think of the three things that go into kind of safe backcountry travel being snowpack, weather, and terrain. For snowpack, we provide the avalanche forecast and make it really easy to visualize that at a macro level. What's the green, yellow, orange, red status? Tap on that and get the full forecast and read details of it. Snowtells also let you evaluate snowpack. We already talked about weather. And then with terrain, slope angle has been the answer to that question for a long time. Now, the work that we've done with the avalanche terrain exposure scale, I actually think will replace slope angle as people get to know it.
Really? Okay. Well, I got to get to know it myself. So I'm really excited to learn more about it. So I think that's really fascinating. And it's just, as you said, again, these three things that you have the weather, it's in the app. You've got this ATES system, this avalanche system, that's in the app. The recent satellite imagery, that's also in the app. And there's a hell of a lot more, obviously. It does feel like this really powerful tool that, again, if you're any kind of professional in the mountains, or if you're serious about being out in the mountains, that you kind of have everything right there in your hand. And especially somewhere like the Wasatch, where we live, where you have cell service everywhere, that's amazing. But if you don't, make sure you have a look in the morning. You can download all this stuff to have it offline. What I notice is that if I look at it in the morning, it seems like if I pull it up later and I'm not online, it's still there. But does it make more sense to download it? You get more detail?
Yeah, you should always download your offline map.
Okay.
And step one, if you're going somewhere where there's any question about cell service, and even if you have cell service, download the offline map so that you can also go into airplane mode and save battery.
Great.
Or if you're backcountry skiing, the guidance now is that cell phones can interfere with beacons.
Yes.
So airplane mode is the way to go, even if you have cell service.
Great advice. And I guess an important question is where? Where is all this information available, especially this avalanche, this ATES system that you were talking about? You were mentioning it's available in the Western US. How about Canada? Is there any other places that it works?
Yeah, so most of our focused data, what we call rich content, or the information that goes above and beyond just kind of a simple base map, is focused on the US and Canada.
Which makes sense. Great, because that's your user base, I'm guessing.
This is our user base. We really want to build apps that are purpose-built for the way that people recreate. And when we look at the rest of the world, people recreate differently everywhere you go.
Yeah.
And so we're hotly debated topic is, to what degree should we support you on your Patagonia trip?
I was just going to ask, yeah.
But at its core, we want to make sure that the places that we're supporting, we really, really know how recreation works, and we're tailoring our app to make it easy and make it an easy decision-making tool that, and this is an important part, like doesn't distract you from what's around you, because you're not there to go look at an app.
No.
You're there to be immersed in nature and the outdoors. And we want to augment that and help you have those moments. And the irony is we're all about helping you disconnect and get offline and be offline. And so the way that we can do that is by making sure that we slide into your workflow at the right moment and not at the wrong moment.
And you must have a myriad data that shows what your users are up to. And I bet it's all privacy wrapped up, but is there any interesting data that you could share with us about your users? I'm sure that you see trends you don't expect, or are there any trends that you're able to share?
Well, the first thing is that we take user privacy hyper seriously. And as a backcountry skier, I really appreciate that because no one wants their powder stash to get blown up.
No.
In hunting world, that's to an even greater degree. So the hunting DNA means that actually people think that we analyze customer usage like location data much more than we do. Like we really don't. We keep that in hyper lockdown to the degree it's even available. So that's kind of piece number one. But piece number two is there are some interesting things that we learned. We learn a lot of interesting things about our customers in different ways. One of them that's been really important to the development of the Backcountry app is in our conversation, we've been talking a lot about skiing, made sense, as this is a SnowBrains podcast. But we also stayed in the mountains for the summer.
Yes.
And we see the vast majority of people who are hiking, mountain biking, skiing, climbing are also doing at least one, usually two or three other things throughout the year. And so we really want to go with them through that whole journey and be their tool for outdoor adventure and their digital companion for outdoor adventure, whatever shape or form that may be.
That's really cool. And I am curious to learn more about the country, which is a couple questions real quick. How many people work at onX Backcountry today?
Yeah, well, so onX overall, we have about 400 people and are growing.
400? That's insane.
400.
Wow.
It turns out there's a lot of technology that goes into building a powerful mapping platform.
I guess so. Damn. And where are most people based, or do you have a headquarters?
So most people, we're largely remote and we're spread across mostly the West. So we have a concentration of folks in Park City, Salt Lake City, a lot of folks in Denver. We have 2 offices in Montana, one in Missoula, one in Bozeman. So those are kind of the base camp hubs. Those are the hubs that we travel to for our corporate events and for our teams getting together in person. But most of the people that I work with daily live somewhere in the Mountain West and are getting after it.
Yeah, as I say, what are these people like? What do they do? And what are these people? What's your typical onX employee look like?
Yeah, our typical onX employee, number one, they're really passionate about their work. And I think that's an easy, in the outdoor industry, you may feel this, it's easy to think that like the work isn't work, but the work is still work.
Yeah.
And people get really excited about their craft. And I think this is where there's a big carryover with outdoor adventure. Like people are pursuing excellence in the things that they're doing, whether that be work related or passion related. But on the team working on Backcountry, we've got a guidebook author, we've got search and rescue professional, we've got former gear editors of top magazines. We've got a group of folks who really do live and breathe the activities that we're doing. And then they're also deeply passionate about building products that are amazing and helping connect people with them.
And how many active subscribers does onX have?
Yeah, so onX overall, we have millions of active users across our apps. And to get nerdy again, the exciting thing here is that the core technology and technology platform that powers hunt and off-road and backcountry and now fish, we can really bring a lot of power to bear on making a mapping tool that's really great for being off trail and in the outdoors. And so if you compare it to like a Google Maps is amazing when you're in an urban area, but it isn't built for being in a national forest. Our mapping platform is built for being in national forests or on BLM land.
And I have a bunch of super nerdy friends that have switched to onX recently, and they really talk about the UX, the user experience. Can you speak to that at all? People often say that onX just feels better via the user experience. And why do you think that is? Yeah,
so I think the first part is that really starts with a purpose-built principle that we mentioned before. And an important part of that is the reason that you're here isn't to look at a map and get a PhD in GIS. You're here to go have an adventure. And so we want to give you the information that you need at the moment that you need it in the place that you would expect it. And so even if we take layers as an example and SnowTel data is not a layer in our app. SnowTel data lives in the places that you would look for it when you're using our app. So it's if you're panning the map and you see the little snowflake, you can engage with SnowTel data. If you're looking at a ski route and you want to see what the snow is, you can engage with SnowTel data. But we're not making a SnowTel layer because that's the wrong way of displaying that information. And in other cases, a layer is the perfect way to display information. But we're really trying hard to give you the right information that you need to make a decision at the right moment in the right context.
How many layers do you have? There's quite a few.
There are quite a few, but maybe not as many as you'd think.
Okay.
So we've boiled it down in Backtrip. I'd have to look. We're in the 15 to 20 layer range.
Okay, I thought so, yeah. I mean, it's quite a few. It's pretty cool. Searching through them all, wow, there's a lot of options here. And it's really fun to play with them. I think it's fun to play with them at home and then figure out what you like. And toggling between them is so easy. And that's where I think that there's a lot of value in the layers.
There's a ton of value in layers.
What are your favorites? Sorry, say what you're going to say and then answer with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've already gotten at some of it. My absolute favorite layer right now is avalanche terrain exposure scale.
Okay, all right. I got to play with that. Yeah, so
you've got to play with that. Look at simple terrain, stay off of and out from under slopes steeper than 30 degrees.
It seems so high tech when I got into it all, but now a satellite topo map hybrid is like the boring regular. But yeah, to me, I remember when that first came out, that blew my mind. And then when they made it 3D, that was exceptional. I still just can't get over rotating and being able to see a mountain from every side.
It is really cool. Well, and I mean, I don't know about you, but especially when you go ski a really big, cool mountain, you can go like a volcano or something.
Yeah,
and you go back and look at your line on that map, and it just feels so good.
It feels so good. I love that's kind of my favorite thing. And so importing the GPX tracks also super simple. Somebody who's maybe recorded in other apps and they're moving to onX, you just could push them right in.
Yep.
Great. That's right. I love that. So when someone opens the app for the first time, what do you want them to feel?
I really want them to feel prepared. I want them to feel prepared that they can go offline, they can go somewhere without cell reception, and be ready for whatever, to go on a big adventure and to be prepared to go farther, which is another thing that we talk about a lot. Like, we really want to give people the confidence to go farther. And that's a big part of what adventure is. And so when you open the app, we want you to realize that this is a tool that's going to help you do that. And that's ultimately what we're here for.
I'm looking at, coming back to the apps, I'm looking at some of the apps now, and there's even one for temperature and air quality, which would be interesting in Salt Lake right now. We're having wildfire smoke. That's huge, actually. Wildfire smoke I would play with because, as we all know in the West, when that is a problem, it is a massive problem, and it dictates where you can and can't go.
Very much so. Yeah, that was when we added in I think it was the summer of 2022, when we had just horrific wildfires all over the place. And then we've also added the smoke forecast, so that you can try to make a prediction about
where it's going to be.
Where's the smoke going to be blowing tomorrow?
Tell me about the cell phone coverage layers. That I didn't notice before.
Yeah, cell phone coverage is a new layer that we've added in.
That's sick.
Well, so first off, it depends on the carrier, and so we'll show you the different carriers. And so if you're AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, we'll show you how strong is the cell coverage in this area, so that you can have an idea. Well, number one, ahead of time, have an idea of what you're getting into. And again, no matter what, you should download an offline map because you don't have to worry about it. And then number two, if something happens and you've downloaded your offline map, you'll have this layer with you offline, and now you can see, where do I need to get to make a phone call? And that can be really vital intelligence to help you respond to whatever situation you're in. And it doesn't even have to be an emergency. It can just be like, oh, wait, I'm going to be a little bit later than I thought I was. I need to get someone to pick up my 6-year-old from daycare.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is huge because I had a big conversation about this. We were just in British Columbia at a backcountry hut. And if someone gets hurt, even if you have a sled and you're in British Columbia in January and it just snowed 2 feet, you're not going anywhere. You're not going to be able to really go uphill. You're barely going to be able to go downhill, and horizontal is even more ridiculous. The best plan of action is, I keep a little bivy sack, some extra clothes. Let's get that person warm. Let's get them off the snow. Let's have somebody stay with them, and let's have the other person go get help. If for some reason your GPS device wasn't working, your satellite device might be going to get cell coverage service. And if you had a resource like this, that is huge. That's not something I had ever thought about. Yeah.
Well, and I think it gets at this common use case that comes up more often than you would think, which is, I'm in the field, I'm doing something, and now I need to change my plan. And there can be so many reasons that you need to change your plan and adapt. That's the moment when you'd be really excited to have a tool like Backcountry.
Absolutely. And how much user feedback do you get? I'm curious, when you're making these layers, when you're coming up with these features, I mean, this cell phone thing is amazing. How much of that, the roadmap of where you guys are going, is directed by user feedback?
It is a lot. It's a huge input. And also, when we talked about our team earlier, our team is folks who are very much embedded in the community of outdoor recreation. And so even beyond direct user feedback, the people who are building the app and designing the app are on a daily basis talking to their friends and people that they see on the trail and integrating that element into where we're going. I think the most important thing is listening to our customers is everything that we do. Right? Like we're a customer-centric company. And so user feedback is simultaneously the most valuable thing that we have. And we get it in a lot of different forms. We get app reviews, we get unsolicited emails, we do user tests constantly of our prototypes. And it's also then really important, boil down to not just listen to what people say they want, but really understand the problems that they're facing and then come up with creative solutions to those problems. And so it's really putting all of those different pieces together that I think makes for a powerful tool.
And there's probably a lot of de facto user feedback, just what are people actually using? I'm sure that you can see, well, they seem to like this layer more than that layer. And maybe there's another layer that if they really like this one, maybe we can make this other one. So I bet that's a fun game to play as well. If you had to win someone over, what feature would you show them?
The first one, no matter who you are, check out 3D offline. Let me pull out the cool button and spin it around. Like that is a really cool experience. The other one is what we've been talking about now. You want to go backcountry skiing? Pull up the avalanche terrain exposure scale and now look at the mountains in a whole new way.
I'm very excited to play with that, because I can't quite formulate what that even looks like in my mind. Sounds so complicated, but clearly you guys have made it simple. And so I'm excited to see what that looks like. And I agree that having a 360, especially if the map is any kind of conical, man, having that 3D map and just spinning it around and around. There was a mountain called Solo in Patagonia that we climbed and skied. And I just spun it over and over and over. I just couldn't get over that. What a cool feature that is. Let's talk about the future, which is always fun and exciting and unknown. But you might know a little bit more, at least in the direction that onX is going. Where do you want onX Backcountry to be in 5 years from today?
Well, I think the part that stays the same is that we want to be your digital companion for outdoor adventure. And hopefully the part that evolves is that we get better and better at helping you be disconnected while you use us.
I love that. And I guess you told us that you're most excited about the ATES. Can you share anything about something you might be developing that you're excited about?
Let's see. So I would call it a couple things.
This is more, I thought you were going to say, top secret.
Sorry, top secret. Well, there's that. There's the top secret part, and you're sworn to secrecy, and this is absolutely off the record.
This is not, we're not recording.
We're not recording right now.
This is the de facto NDA right now.
Exactly. No, the parts I'll share are we're trying to help you make the right calls when you're adventuring, and that can come in a lot of different forms and happen at a lot of different moments. One really common place where you're trying to make the right call is a simple one, especially out in the West where you're trying to figure out where am I going to stay tonight? And so we've got some really cool stuff coming out for figuring out where you can camp, different ways that you can camp.
Maybe where you could park a van or something like that.
Where you can park a van, for example. So there's some cool stuff coming out there. The other one that I would talk about, it's actually a feature we've already released, so it's sort of cheating on this question. But
I like cheating.
We pulled our automatic trail routing offline. And so this is another feature when you talk about like, what's the feature I love? This is another one that I love using, which is just being able to check really quickly by building a 2-tap route to here to my finish line. How far do I have left along the trail? And being able to do that really, really quickly. Or when I get somewhere and I say like, can I make a right turn here and still get back in time? I can check that really quickly, whether I'm online or offline, by using the routing feature that now goes with you even without self-service. And actually reminds me of time recently when that came in handy. Have you ridden the Crest Trail here in Park City?
I'm not really a mountain biker, but I did ride the Crest Trail. Is it the one that you can get to on Guardsman?
It's the one that everyone shuttles.
Okay, yeah, I think I did it once.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a super popular trail, super scenic, really fun. It's one of the classic Park City trails. And so I went with a buddy, and it was kind of right before sunset. We've ridden it a lot, so feeling very familiar, and it doesn't seem like a big deal. But then, kind of at the furthest point away from anywhere on this trail, on the top of the Park City ridgeline, his rear wheel explodes.
No.
And so we then are faced with like, he has an unrideable bike. It's getting dark soon. And all of a sudden our casual bike ride went to like, well, we don't want to be like stuck out here bushwhacking in the dark. And so we pull out the map to figure out what is our best path forward. Do we continue on ahead? Do we turn around? Is there some alternative place that he can get to that I can then go get the car and come around and pick him up? And we're able to answer that question pretty quickly and easily with confidence. And he turned around and actually went back to the Guardsman's Pass parking lot, and we picked him up there.
And you can imagine if you didn't have anything, you'd be making a lot of guesses and probably making a lot of mistake and maybe even need some help. So that's no fun. What just spurred my memory is that was one thing I mentioned that I really liked in Patagonia was creating routes. And what really worked great for me, and this might seem really obvious, but I thought just in case people aren't super familiar with these kind of apps, is I could basically say, here's a dot on my car, and here's a dot on the top of this mountain I want to go to. And it's cool to have a route. Great. Yeah, let's plan it out. Let's make sure we have a route. But cooler is when you're an old guy like me and not that strong, is how many miles is this damn thing? What's the vertical? Because that happens to me all the time. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to go from here to there, and I'm going to climb this mountain and flex on top and then come home. And then I click the dots and I make a route. It's like, it's 12 miles. It's like, oh, I'm not doing that. Never mind. And so for me, a huge amount of decision making, especially in Patagonia, where it's difficult to judge distances, the naked eye is you can look at a mountain and we could punch it in and say, oh yeah, forget that. What's closer? And so that was hugely valuable for us and was really how we made most of our decisions.
Comes down to distance and elevation are everything.
Everything.
And knowing about them. And then with a shading to that be that distance along the trail versus distance as the crow flies is a helpful distinction.
Yeah.
Not as much in backcountry skiing, but for any of the summer activities.
Absolutely.
The other thing that you mentioned, this is where we hear like the really kind of poignant stories from our customers about, saving their bacon kind of situations, is the breadcrumb that you leave. And so if you start a track, which you should always, if you're going into backcountry, just start the tracker, then you'll keep track of a breadcrumb of where you've been. And a couple of years ago, I was up in the Wind River Range backpacking and did a little kind of evening excursion up a canyon. And it started raining and it was getting really slippery and it was starting to get dark, which is, all of these really common things that happen. But I don't want to be out in the cold in the middle of the night and slip and break my leg on this kind of cool granite. And so I got to a spot where I didn't quite remember which of these two little drainages I had come up. But then when you pull up the breadcrumb, you can like very quickly see I went left and go back left with confidence that this is the right path. It's interesting to me because a lot of times I try to not look at my map or look at my app when I'm out in the wilderness because that's not what I'm there for. But then there's some crux moments where I really don't want this to go wrong. I want to get to the right answer right now. And I'm not okay with being half an hour or an hour late. Those are the moments when having this data is really powerful and kind of comes in handy in sometimes big ways. The flip side of that, another situation that went a different way, I was went on a lunchtime ski tour. I don't know if you skied up in Summit Park and went with a buddy. We had some meetings the afternoon. So we went for a 1-hour tour. The long story short is we went down the wrong drainage. We weren't looking at our map. We totally missed our afternoon of meetings. But we also found a set of freshly shed moose antlers.
Oh, that's really cool.
Really, really cool. And so I think the serendipity of getting lost is important. You just got to be able to pick and choose. Like, is now a moment when I'm okay getting lost or not?
Is this moment fun, or is it causing me potentially bodily harm or worse? Because I would say in the Eastern Sierra, that happens a lot. There's all these different little drainages and especially on the way out, when you're kind of bushwhacking. That's when I really use it. It's like, all right, that way I bushwhacked in here was actually pretty nice. I'm going to go back the way I came. Or I'll try something new and realize, nope, this sucks. How do I get back to my old trail? And that's really nice too. And this might be really common also for listeners, but I also really liked when I would plan a route. If there was a trail, I don't know if there was a button you hit to do this or it just did it automatically, but it would like lock onto the trail. And that was so cool. So then, because a lot of times in Patagonia, for sure, you're below snow line to start. So you really want a trail, or else it really is some horrid bushwhacking. And then you the really true distance, because like you said, the crow flies might be 1 mile, but the way the trail moves might be 2. I thought that was a really cool feature.
Yeah, it's a very cool feature. And we also try to make it really easy to toggle between the snap to mode. And
Yes, that was what it was, snap to.
Yeah, and so you can go back and forth between those as you're building a route for exactly the reason that you're talking about.
Yeah, I love that. And where do you see onX and mapping apps in general? So a decade is like a million years right now, the way technology is advancing. So let's say, where do you see mapping apps in 5 years from now?
The AI revolution hasn't hit mapping apps yet in a major way, but it will at the right moment. And I mean, we're paying a lot of attention and playing with a lot of things to try to figure out how to make this new technology genuinely useful to your decision making in ways that enhances your experience and doesn't take away your autonomy. And we're not there yet, but there is definitely going to be some new and interesting ways of interacting with this information that may not look like pulling out your phone and tapping on it.
I like that. Yeah, and again, I love that you're not selling or using or manipulating the data. You guys are keeping that safe. Again, when I first started guiding and the instructors were saying, hey, you need to learn how to use your phone, you need to learn how to use these apps, it seems so intimidating. And maybe it was on the first ones. I can't remember what I used at first, but god damn, it's so simple now. And especially those 3D maps, it's just so. And the idea that eventually AI is coming in, eventually technology that we can't even dream of, what this is going to look like in 5 to 10 years from now could be insane. I'm dreamy enough to imagine a hologram. That would be awesome, but maybe that's far-fetched. But maybe it's not far-fetched enough.
Yeah. Well, I think at the right moment, a hologram could be really interesting. And at the wrong moment, a hologram would just be horrific.
Yeah. I could imagine what the first holograms will be like, probably really bad. But you can imagine if they got good, like in Avatar or in the future movies, like Star Wars, where they're just, moving it around and you could really play with that. It'd be pretty neat.
Yeah. So I think there could be cool things going in the other direction, though. Even with virtual reality, we can now let you share your outdoor adventure with people who were never there. And there's some use cases that when I think of my parents who are never going to get some of the places that I hold so dear, it's like, well, maybe there's some cool ways that I could share that with them.
And maybe you guys are already doing this, but I also like the idea of guidebooks being integrated. Is Nate Greenberg's book, the Eastern Sierra book, is it in onX? I thought it was.
It's onX.
Okay. And just tell me really quick how that works. That's in my book, I'm a Californian and Eastern Sierra is like God's country to me. But Nate Greenberg and I forget the other guy's name, their book about skiing California's Eastern Sierra is the best ski guidebook I've encountered. There might be another one, but this is the best one I've ever seen. So I'd really love to learn more from you what that looks like via onX.
Well, so this is one of the places where I think onX Backcountry really stands out. And that's that we have worked with the best guidebook authors to integrate their guidebooks into our digital maps and do that in a native and exciting way. And so Nate Greenberg's Eastern Sierra guidebook it's part of onX Backcountry. So as you're interacting with onX Backcountry, you're going to get that information.
Oh, so I don't have to pay to get that? I can just get that?
If you have an onX subscription, you've got it.
No way. Damn it. I'm going to look that up right now.
Yeah. And similarly, we've worked with Beacon Guidebooks out of Colorado, and they have amazing guidebooks for obviously out of Colorado, a lot of the Pacific Northwest, here in the Wasatch. And so all of that information is integrated into the maps with lines that you can tap on. You can read the descriptions. You can then pull in the SnowTel data, the avalanche forecast, and kind of get all of these pieces together in one native.
Well, are there other images as well of let's say I'm going to ski Red Peak and there's a picture ofRed Peak?
Yes.
You got to be kidding me. Really? Jeez.
It's the entire guidebook. The entire guidebook is integrated into the app.
That's so cool. Yeah. Wow.
And then in the summer, we work with local experts in different places to create guidebook content for hiking and for mountain biking. So you can go look and see all the regional classics. This is kind of the moniker that we've used, or off the beaten path adventures. But the adventures that are worth doing, we highlight those for you and have worked with local experts to get the information that you need to go do them.
So you're actually spurring these. You're saying, make me this product for Rocky Mountain National Park, because I know there's 50 great hikes here and I would like to be able to show people what they are.
Yeah, and we want to make sure that you can get the ones that are really, really worth doing, not just the ones that everyone does.
Right. And how do we find these?
You just pan to the Eastern Sierra and go to snow mode, and then you'll see the lines.
No
and
way.
Then you can start interacting with them.
Damn. And are there more regions in the Western US and Canada that have that kind of thing?
So most of the major ski regions we have a guidebook for.
Wow.
So again, Wasatch, most of Colorado, Pacific Northwest, Washington, Snoqualmie Pass, big chunks of Oregon. We've got most of the places that people are actually skiing, we've got covered.
As a massive nerd and fan of guidebooks, I'm so excited about this. So I'm still relatively new to onX, been using it for about a year. And so I and I mostly just do what I'm used to doing. And I guess I'm not exciting or fun enough. So I'm really excited to play with all those features and learn more about that, especially the ATES, the avalanche stuff, and all these guidebook things. I think that's so incredible. And I'm assuming you have the same for summer, maybe mountain biking and hiking as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And I love the way that you're getting into it, that you start an experience by seeing something simple that's approachable. And then as you peel back the layers of the onion, there's a lot more there, and there's so much depth that you can get into. And I think that's the right way to introduce someone to a new tool.
And I effing love guidebooks. So that is so cool for me, especially that there's imagery, because I just love to look at the pictures and decide if that's something for me or not. I think that's so fun. Nice, man. Well, I have a quick rapid fire for you here at the end that I sort of formulated in my phone while you were talking, just like to profile you a little bit. And we'll see what we can get out of you. You don't have to answer these honestly if it doesn't make sense. Feel free to make some shit up. So, but I'm really curious about your favorite places, because we're both in Park City here. So where's your favorite place to ski inbounds?
Oh, ski inbounds. Oh my goodness, it's got to be Alta.
Yeah, okay. Nice, good answer. Strong
Easy
answer. How about out of bounds skiing? Backcountry
Out of bounds
skiing.
skiing, I'll give a not as common answer here. I do a lot of meadow skipping, fish scale skis.
Oh, wow. So tell us about fish scale. My understanding is that basically your skins built into your skis.
Your skins are built into your skis. It's basically like a very fat, classic Nordic ski. And it lets you access very mellow terrain and make it really exciting. So if you've ever gone down a 20-degree slope on Nordic skis with a floppy boot, it makes it really gripping. You can take go to the Uintas, and there's so much rolling meadow terrain that you can cover an enormous amount of ground. It's not what everyone else is doing.
That's really cool too. It sounds like, especially if you want to do some kind of a traverse or experience what it was like for primitive man to ski. Very
Exactly.
Cool. And then how about inbounds biking, mountain biking?
Oh my goodness. Let's see. I mean, mountain biking at Park City Mountain is phenomenal, but I'm actually going to go with Flying Dog Trail, which is not in a resort, but here in Park City.
Okay. Well, that was my next question. How about out of bounds biking? So maybe now you got to give us another one.
Yeah. I don't know if the out of bounds distinction makes as much sense.
It doesn't, but I'm not a mountain biker, so I'm just making sure.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, locally, no, this is going to be perfect. Locally here, Flying Dog Trail is amazing. Not locally, there's a hidden gem. I don't want to blow it up, but it's okay. It'll be worth it, which is the Little Grand Canyon in the San Rafael Swell has an amazing mountain bike ride that almost no one does. So check that out.
Okay, cool. I like that. And then where's your favorite place you've ever used onX?
Well, I would go back again to the San Rafael Swell.
Oh, really? Okay. So it's great for mountain biking too.
It's great for mountain biking. And the San Rafael Swell is all about dispersed camping and then going and exploring these really cool slot canyons and just getting off the grid. So it's a cool spot for it.
That's cool, man. Well, thank you for that. That's the quick rapid fire. And then there's just a question that just popped into my head. Do you have data, or can you share anything about, or user stories or user experiences where people have gotten into trouble and used onX to get out of trouble?
Yeah, we got an email recently of a guy in Yosemite who came across, there's the Yosemite area. I think you can't mountain bike in Yosemite. So maybe he's on a dirt road in Yosemite. But he came across a mountain biker who had gotten in way over his head and then used onX to kind of find the quick way out. And it was a really cool moment.
I'm just so pumped about the cell phone service layer. That to me, that is so very, very cool. Nice. Will, I really appreciate you, man. This has been a very cool learning experience. I'm super pumped to play with this app more, learn more, and I feel like I can just be a better mountain person and a better mountain partner with the knowledge that I can pull out of this machine, out of this app. So I think that's really cool and really exciting. And I'm curious if you have anything else you'd like to share with our audience here at the end of the show.
The last thing I'll share, you talked about being a mountain partner, and I think that's such an important part of the mountain experience. And this is a part of the app that we didn't really talk about, but as you build your tours and build your own kind of waypoints and lines, you can put them in folders and share those with your friends, and you still control that data. So you can take it away from them if you want to give someone
Oh,
like,
really?
hey,
Yeah, there's take backs.
here's the cool line. If you blow this up, I'm taking it away.
I like that. I didn't know there's take backs. That's great. And that is one of my favorite things about tracking apps is I just love seeing all of the places that I've been. And there's a piece of it that is accomplishment based for me. And I'm very accomplishment oriented human being. So when especially now that I've been in the Wasatch for a while and the Wasatch is teeny tiny, I can bust out the Wasatch map. And when I look at it, it's like all these little lines like, oh, wow, look at all these places I went. And then, oh, I still need to go here and there. And so I do think that these tracking app and onX help inspire me to do more and find more and explore more, because I see empty places on the map and it's like, I want to draw a line there.
Yep. I love that. And really for me, I am so inspired by onX's mission of awakening the adventure inside everyone. And I think what you're describing is exactly that happening. And so that warms my heart.
Well, let's awaken it, man. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Will, for coming on the show. Have a great rest of the day. And since we're both in Park City, let's try to get out and do some ski laps.
Let's go skiing. Let's do it.
Thank you so much for listening to the SnowBrains podcast. If you liked this podcast, please share with friends and family, and please be sure to subscribe. To find out more about SnowBrains, please visit us at snowbrains.com. You can also find us on Instagram, X, Facebook, and more. This episode of the SnowBrains podcast was edited by Liam Abbott, and I'm your host, Miles Clark.